Vigilante Williamson here with a very simple question. How the fuck did this happen? I mean, seriously. Maybe you have heard about this, maybe you haven't. This has actually already been taken down, and I didn't actually know about it until very recently. But let me get this right. The National Museum of African American History and Culture, it is a Smithsonian institution, which means your taxpayers pay for this, released a document which is, I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I don't think I've ever seen white supremacy quite like this. This is the most racist thing I've ever seen my taxpayers produce. Ever. That I've seen. You know what I mean? In my lifetime. And I'm going to go through this document. Going to have a little fun with it because what can you do? You got to laugh to keep from crying. This is pretty ridiculous, as you can see, because these are the aspects and assumptions of whiteness and white culture in the United States. So, like, first, before we get into anything, we have to really dismantle this institution. This institution cannot be the National Museum of African American History and Culture if it literally assumes that every factor that could possibly impact success is a part of whiteness. So this is I pray to the Most High of the Scriptures that none of my people were actually involved in the making of this, and this was just the same types that shake their ass like this on they're on OnlyFans in order to protest. It's from that same place of awareness, and that nobody none of us wrote this, because if so, I really pray for those brothers and sisters to have this much inferiority. And I'm not a black supremacist or white. I love all people. I think we're all people, and I'm just calling out this because this is just crazy. I can't believe this happened. Literally, even with as crazy as this world has gotten, this weird virtue signaling thing, this weird anti-racist, where it's actually really racist, and this is a part of it where it succeeds in being racist towards every individual who's not white and white people at the same time. And it's spectacular that this content that is being produced is capable of doing this. But let's go through this. I'm gonna go through it word for word. Okay, white dominant culture or whiteness refers to the way white people and their traditions, attitudes, and ways of life have been normalized over time and are now considered standard practices in the United States. So before we get into the next sentence, so this article assumes that, and this is a Smithsonian institution, by the way, an institution that is connected, I'm knocking to the microphone, that is connected to the Smithsonian. So theoretically, they would have the access to educate themselves about anything. Outside of Google, they have the real life Google before there was Google. A lot of what our culture has been anatomized for successful cultures, which yes, includes a lot of European culture, but it's considered Western civilization, so of course it would branch off from Western civilization. But I would like to think that just Western civilization in and of itself has taken from all cultures, in order to become what it is. So in these factors, I know I haven't even gotten into it because it's just so crazy to me. I just want to talk about, but all these factors are present in multitudes of cultures. But let's get into it again. I mean, each sentence is so crazy, it's just hard to even talk about, but I'm going to get through it. Okay. So, since white people still hold most of the institutional power in America, we have all internalized some aspects of white culture, including, now that I finally have a platform, even though I have no subscribers as of yet, people of color is a stupid ass term. I'm not going to classify myself against the global minority. there are more people of color than non-people of color on Earth, because white people only make up a section of the population of the Earth. So in China, like, who's a person of color by that definition? I've been wondering the answer to this question, because relative to that country, they would be the most powerful, they would be the most dominant culture, they would be the most successful culture. So if you're Caucasian in China, who's the person of color? I get that white would be a minority, but like, would you consider the Chinese a person in China or in Asia in general? If you're in Asia, a different part of Asia, if you're in Eastern Asia. So, you know, everyone's brown in Eastern Asia. So even though they're the most dominant culture relative to you, you would still consider them people of color. So what are you saying then about whiteness? That it is the base? Like, is that what you think? And that it's the base human that all other humans need to be classified against? So before we get into all the crazy shit, let's get to the accepted. When did that phrase become acceptable? I've always had that phrase. I've always thought it was stupid. And then celebrities start saying, well, person of color. Like, it sounds like it's so someone can sound like they feel more regal by being, you know, by minimizing themselves. And that's what a lot of this stuff calls for. It calls for, really, it's divisive, it's balkanistic. We're all people, you know what I mean? Even the term minority, which I'm not really a fan of, it really is just a matter of, like, numbers. If there are 8 oranges and 2 apples are in the minority of that bunch. It's just numerical. I just think this just pisses me off so much. I have so much to say about it. So let's actually get into the topics. Rugged individualism. The individual is the primary unit. Self-reliance, independence, and autonomy highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. So by you believing in yourself and being reliant in yourself and being independent, you are Caucasian. So what this implies, wait a second, because remember, this is the National Museum of African American History and Culture. So this implies throughout history, the history of humanity, that only whites were self-reliant. And again, if you're wondering, they did apologize. Okay, they apologized about this already. They apologized about this. Let's see this bullshit apology. We aired including the chart. We have removed and we apologize. We're reviewing our policies to ensure that digital materials reflect the quality you have come to expect. Education is core to our mission. We thank you for helping us be better. And then it's important for us as a country to talk about race. No, it's important for us to stop spreading bullshit about race, which this is a Smithsonian organization, which should not be spreading bullshit. We thank those who shared our concerns about talking about race online portal. We need these type of frank and respectful interchanges as we as a country grapple with how we talk about race and its impact on our lives. You know what helps? If the fucking Smithsonian wouldn't talk about race like this, wouldn't talk about race like their fucking Klan members, where they think that self-reliance is only a Caucasian thought. And I'm spending so much fucking time just exposition. I can't even get through the fucking article, so this is my fault. Okay, so being reliant on yourself, being independent, and you get what you deserve, which, okay, sometimes you do. A lot of people don't. Whoever wrote this didn't get what they deserve because they still have a fucking job and they don't deserve it. So that's clearly not fucking true. Because this organization deserves to be fucking dismantled based upon the production of this. The fact that it's been taken down and you gave a bullshit apology, no. You cannot be the museum of any type of history and culture in this country or on earth to believe any of this bullshit and to only associate with Caucasians, to only associate success with Caucasians and saying that we've internalized it. Like, what the fuck is this? There are people dying in the streets because of balkanistic bullshit like this. What the fuck? How is this helping? Who the fuck wrote this? Who co-signed it? Who co-signed this bullshit? The nuclear family. This is where we really get to some bullshit. And this is all over BLM's bullshit ass site too. Why they fundraise for fucking the DNC. And I'm not a partisan. I'm not, Orange man bad or Orange man good. I'm not a partisan. I fucking hate all politics. You know what I mean? It's all bullshit. But this maybe BLM came up with this bullshit. The nuclear family: father, mother, three children, ideal social unit. Husband is the breadwinner and head of the household. Wife is the homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have their own rooms, be independent. So what the fuck what do you want? What do you want? Since that's white, since the first nuclear family ever in existence had to be white, apparently. There was no concept of nuclear family until Europeans took over, apparently, according to this article. According to this. And by the way, in Thomas Sowell, which everyone needs to read Thomas Sowell, he's verified it. Black people, before we had a lot of these socialist politics, ruined our culture. We were poison pilled after the end of Jim Crow. But during Jim Crow had, not every year, you gotta check the years, but there were a lot of years where lower divorce rates, lower unemployment rates than Caucasians. Just so you know. And your answer is to worsen things, because that sounds, to a lot of generation of even people like me, that doesn't even make sense. It sounds crazy that was the case, and it's sad that it does. And because we can't solve any issues when we have bullshit like this being peddled by organizations that should fucking know better. This is some shit that should come from the Klan. This shouldn't be coming from a fucking Smithsonian organization. Real shit. This is fucking crazy. It's white to have a nuclear family. Motherfucker, until our government fucking start paying us to not have a nuclear family, we fucking did. And it's not fucking easy. I love, I used to be a cashier, right, when I was younger. I'm an old fuck right now, right? But back when I was younger, in my 20s, in the late 2000s, whatever, I was a cashier at grocery stores, whatever, just starting out. That's why I worked. And you would meet women or whatever, and they do got their boyfriends who are their kids' fathers in their lives a lot of time, but they got to keep him out of the house and do little tricks to make sure he doesn't know. And they can't take more hours because they're scared about being able to feed their kids right at that fucking moment. Right? Why don't we rewrite the welfare system so it's not so oppressive, where it's basically forcing you to be poor? You know what I mean? Forcing you to be fucked up, forcing you to be in that situation where the second you try even to get out of it a little bit, you get this clamp coming down as far as the funds. And that's why we end up having a fucked up situation like we do in the black community with the fatherlessness rate, and it's going up and up for the whole country. Amongst all communities now, it's higher right now amongst whites than it was amongst blacks when people thought it was a problem in the 60s. So I mean, it's getting worse and worse. So emphasis on scientific method. This is real. This is where we get into like some old school, like, crazy shit. There's people that believe blacks have a lower IQ. That's not the case. Anyone who can believe that needs to read a lot of Thomas Sowell. Charter Schools and Their Enemies is a recent book by Thomas Sowell, and I think everyone needs to read it, or at least watch the presentation on it on YouTube. Based upon the test results from the charter schools, pretty much dispels the myth that any one race has a superior mind just based upon genetics. It really didn't refer to IQ, but it referred to education and how a lot of these poor black schools, but because their charter schools are the highest tested schools in New York. So what we really have is a bad education system. And look what it produced for our Smithsonian Institute. That to let you know how bad our education system is in general, not just for black children, but for all American children. Because for this institute, for individuals to have gone through the education system and the higher education system and be hired at this institution, and anyone involved with this institution greenlighting this, shows a complete lack of education all the way around, because there's no way a healthy education system could have produced this document by one of its institutions. But I digress. objective, rational, linear thinking, cause and effect relationships, quantitative emphasis. So the want for facts, the want for rational thinking, the want for objectiveness, and the belief in cause and effect could have only come from the Caucasian European. According to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. This is why they have to be disbanded, because if this is what they believe, what can they teach any of us of history and culture if they believe that these things are only associated with white culture? How can they teach us anything? That's all they believe. So history, based upon Northern European immigrants experiencing in the United States, heavy focus on the British Empire, primacy of Western and Judeo-Christian tradition. I guess if there is one dispute in this group, it would be this sentence: the primacy of Western, Greek, Roman, and Judeo-Christian tradition, because every follower of the Judeo-Christian tradition has not been white, even historically speaking. So I think that's probably the only part I can dispute. But I guess to be heavily focused on the British Empire and to based on European immigrants and the experience in the United States is white. But it doesn't necessarily make it wrong, because again, the article, as angry as I get on it, want to be fair to it. I got to be fair to anything I cover. All right. So back to the racism. All right. Hard work is the key to success, because any culture, the only culture that could ever work hard is white. If you want to work hard or work before play, if you didn't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough. These thoughts must be Caucasian. That's not to say, to this, because with these quotes, it's not to say they're necessarily always true all the time. That not meeting your goals has to do with your work ethic. Could be other factors. Sometimes you're working hard but not smart. Sometimes you're working at the wrong thing, whatever. But this quote can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. But in the context of this article, it's more of just trying to shame. It's more of this like belief of the Caucasian master race and trying to shame them for it. It's this weird thing that happens in these articles. And again, to believe. What is it? Let me roll down. Yeah, here we go. National Museum of African American History and Culture is responsible for this. It's just sad. And religion. Christianity is the norm. Well, now I would argue against that. I would say atheism is the norm nowadays. And anything other than Judeo-Christian, which again is not solely Caucasian, is foreign, no tolerance for deviation for a single God concept, which I would disagree, because there's a lot of tolerance for a lot of religion nowadays. And again, I would say atheism is taking over as the major religion, which obviously it is a religion. So I would disagree with that. But again, it's just trying to attack Western culture, so that's not really relevant. Wealth equals worth. I don't think anyone has ascribed. I don't even believe that. I think that's something that the media puts together more than anything. I think we know of a lot of wealthy people who aren't worth a damn, and a lot of people who have not that much who are worth a ton. So I don't think wealth equals worth is even a thing. I think this is something we have, this is something that demons like whoever created this document try to put out there, so that's just scratch from anything, because no one should believe that, because, we're all worthy and we all have our purpose on this earth. Anyways, your job is who you are. Again, this is something that this bullshit culture pushes that I reject in general, and I hope to goodness the white brothers and sisters don't put this as part of their culture. This is just what we have is, what Thomas Anderson from The Matrix was rebelling against right here. Respect authority. Right now, this is a jab at black people, especially going on with everything going on with this BLM, which again, these groups are mostly white, but they put it on us. So they're trying to make it like, okay, in order to respect authority, you must be Caucasian, as if they're not a lot of, revolutions throughout history and that have been Caucasian based or whatever, depending on what your authority is doing is whether or not you should respect it. Heavily value on ownership of goods, space, and property. This is more just, because if you don't know, and a lot of people don't know, and honestly, I aim this channel for those who don't know, aiming for the miseducated layperson. there's a real attack on Western culture and capitalism and its want for socialism. So when they say, you know, while it's not implicitly said, the point of this is to make all these things negative. Even though all these things are inherently positive, you should want to own something. You should want to own property. You should want to have ownership of goods. You shouldn't value it too much. You shouldn't covet it, as a religion. Of course, this is something to be put in perspective. But, the idea that you shouldn't own property, you shouldn't own space, you shouldn't have ownership of your own things, that's crazy. And that's what that's trying to seed in. But again, Caucasians did not come up with this concept, and this is not just something. This is natural to human. This is inalienable. The rights to ownership of what you own, and whether or not you respect authority, I can't lie. I mean, I don't think anybody right now respects authority, given what our government, both parties, have done to us. How can you respect it? How can you respect it no matter what side of the aisle you on? So I don't think anybody's feeling that right now. For good reason. And now this is some more crazy shit. Rigid time schedules, time viewed as a commodity. So Caucasians invented time, apparently. So good on y'all for that. We appreciate it. That's a joke. You can clip it out. Don't at me. I'm not even on social media. I am parked on some shit. Plan for the future. So in order to plan for the future, in order to delay gratification, these are things that only white people do. It's only part of white culture. And if you're doing it, it's because of the whiteness you've picked up, apparently. Because that's the only way you could ever want to plan for the future or delay gratification. And again, this organization only apologizes for quality control. They don't apologize for what they're saying. Progress is always best. So apparently, if you want to progress, it's Caucasian, it's white. Only a white person can want to progress. This is balkanistic bullshit. And remember, because everything's supposed to be a troll. Like, this is all bad. Tomorrow will be better. This is just optimism. Aesthetics based on European culture. I don't even think aesthetics are even based upon European culture. I would say they're more amalgamized based upon a lot of cultures. You know what I mean? Steak and potatoes bland is best. This is just taking shots at our Caucasian brothers and sisters with that hair. A woman's beauty based upon blonde and thin. Barbie. Now we're on to something. A man's attractiveness is based upon economic status, power, and intellect. Damn right, I'm tired of this shit. Why I gotta be rich and powerful and smart and shit? Shit. It's hard out here. Finally, this article got into something. Finally, we're on to something. Finally, a sentence I agree with. I'm not for a man being attractive for a stat. Why can't a man be attractive for his obesity, huh? Why is a man not attractive? So, even a blind squirrel finds a nut. So here we go. So, okay, with that last sentence. And women based upon blonde and thin, everybody got different likes. Everybody has different likes. Holidays based on Christian religions. Anyone knows these holidays are based upon pagan religions. So that's not even true. History based upon white male leaders. A lot of people have been, whitewashed. So I'm not opening up that can of worms. One can of worms per video, please. But a lot of history is based upon white male leaders. There's great leaders of all nationalities throughout the history. If you base it upon American history, we only had one black president, so I don't know what you want. Unless there are some who may have had parents that passed from white, so there's that. But I don't know what you want. How can American history be based upon anything else? If it's based upon American, then European, there are stretches in Europe where there were non-white races in charge, but. What do you want? Of course it is. This is just bullshit. And injustice based upon English common law, more protect property and entitlements. You don't want property, and intent counts. So apparently that shouldn't work. Your intent shouldn't matter. According to this, your intent shouldn't matter, or at least that's what it's trying to imply. An accident should be just as liable as murder. And the want for protecting your property and entitlement, just your whiteness. It's just your whiteness speaking. Competition. Human beings have been competitive since the first time there was more than one. Cain killed Abel. Shit, you know what I mean? So competitive nature is human nature, but no, it's Caucasian nature, according to the National Museum of African American History and Culture. They have to be defunded. They have to be defunded straight up. They got to be defunded, disbanded. They got to go. All right, they're closing this video out. It's over. It's about 30 minutes. I don't know how much I'm gonna edit it down. About 30 minutes of video, so let's get through this. Be number one, win at all costs, winner losers dichotomy. So you want to give everybody a goddamn juice box. Say you're all winners just for participating, so nobody can accomplish anything. More socialist craziness. Action orientation. I don't know what the fuck word I was trying to say. Action orientation, master and control nature. So you're suggesting we shouldn't have domesticated anything, and we shouldn't care about actions, like we shouldn't do anything, or that doing things is white, and to control nature of any kind, to domesticate, to come up with a boat so we can go across water, that was white. Like, so you literally are saying that every innovation that ever took place where man has done something about nature or must always do something about a situation, that every single aspect must be ascribed to whiteness, that if not for white man, nature would have never been controlled. We would never do anything, and we would never feel any reason to solve a situation. And decision making at all, aggressiveness and extroversion, which I'm an introvert, so I don't know. Majority rules when whites have power. So the democracy, basically. No more democracy because that's white. The Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture has considered democracy a Caucasian concept only. And making decisions at all, by the way. Decision making at all. Speaking the King's English rules, which no one speaks. Written tradition, avoid conflict, intimacy. Avoiding intimacy? I don't get that. Don't show emotion. Of course not discuss. Don't discuss personal life. People now listen, man, I don't know about this. Don't discuss in personal life being white. So I lived in an area that was I'm from Detroit. That's why I get the Pistons hat, if you can see it. From Detroit, but I spent a lot of time in another city. I'm not gonna dox myself and tell you what city that was, but it was a not the wealthiest area on earth, and it was a high Caucasian. It wasn't it was still a decent amount black. And they were just known to tell like every story about their lives, even if they just met you. It was very weird. I never understood it, so I wouldn't even consider that. And that's me stereotyping, so I apologize to the white brothers and sisters just based on my experience. I've known, a lot of personal life that I really did not want to know about people who volunteered a lot of their information, who were Caucasian. Not that there haven't been blacks to do that too, because they have. In general, I think people should probably not discuss their personal life. And showing emotion, I mean, it depends on the situation. I showed emotion throughout this video because this is fucking ridiculous for an organization like this to put this shit out. And yes, they deleted it, and they gave this half-assed apology that, again, I'll go back to. It's the only other window I have up, where they admitted to erring on the chart and reviewing the policies so the materials reflect the quality you have come to expect. They did not apologize for what was in there. They did not understand what they did was wrong. And that's really the point of this video, because if you made this far, Trump's evil plan, who knows? There's other shit. But okay. The point of this video is there are people, who think like this, who think this is not racist. And it's easy to just get angry at the bad actors who are deeply racist, clearly, and are trying to push this subversive shit to everyone and balkanize us. But there are genuine people who genuinely, in their heart of hearts, want equality, and they deeply really want something positive, and they're being told that this rhetoric is the positive way to think, and how you should think about whiteness, and how you should be thinking all of the cultures are respective to white people. It's disgusting, and it's just balkanization, and it's white supremacy, and it's subversive, and because they're trying to disparage it, it's disparaging, to all people, and it's unacceptable. Our tax dollars went to contribute to that. So if you want to blame Trump for something, blame him for co-signing that. Whoever co-signed that needs as much blame as possible. Shit. Okay, that's it for this video. Long video. I hope you like it. I'm going to be doing a lot more content like this, so I can kind of just edit it together, get it together, and get it out. So, hate the video. Tell me how shitty it is in the comments below. If you like the video, please like the video. And even if you didn't, thank you for watching.